You are very welcome to this talk, and I am so pleased to welcome a brand new guest to the show, to the program, to the show, whatever this is, this scientific document, Dr. Panagis Polykretis. Doctor, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you, John. It is a great honor for me to be here.
Now, I was first very impressed with your work because way back in 2020, 2021, and we looked at this last week in a video, you actually predicted that there would be systemic absorption of the lipid nanoparticles, and therefore these lipid nanoparticles would take their RNA all around the body, and that spike protein could be expressed on cells all around the body. And you described the mechanism of how this would damage cells all around the body. So well done on that. You had that worked out way before people like me did, that's for sure.
Thank you, John. I mean, on the theoretical basis, this reaction was totally predictable, and
well, it was predictable to you, yes. Yeah.
I think that, for example, when you design a car, you have to think of its security and safety, and all the pharmaceutical industry described these pharmaceutical products as the product of innovation and science. But if you design a fantastic car, very perfect car, but it does not has a functioning brake system, it can be deadly. And this was the mechanism. They did not thought of a mechanism to think of a mechanism to avoid the uncontrolled distribution within the body of these products.
Absolutely. So well anticipated, but well worked out, and it just shows how basic fundamental science can be applied if people choose to apply it. Of course, sometimes people choose to apply science, other times they choose not to apply it, but you chose to apply it. So that's great. Now, you've got another paper we want to study today, and I'm going to put that paper up now so people can see it. Now, there's a bit of a sly trick going on here, a statistical trick. Technically, it's called the case counting window bias, but this bias is presumably affecting most of the publications around the world that seek to analyze vaccine effectiveness. What is this case counting bias, and why is it a bit of a sly trick?
Yes. This effect, we have to acknowledge that it has been predicted by Professor Martin Neal and Professor Norman Fenton in late 2021. And they even have a publication in preprint of January 2022 that I bet that they are trying to publish in the peer-reviewed literature. This effect basically creates a misclassification because it is based on the notion that someone has not built up a proper immunity against the virus for a period of time roughly of 2 weeks, 14 days after vaccination. In some countries it changed. For example, in England, I think it was like 21 days, this period, from 14 to 21 days. In Italy, where this study was performed, the period of time was of 14 days. So basically, in the first 14 days, in this time window, all the vaccinated people were considered unvaccinated. And this created an effect that all the adverse reactions that they had, but even the infections and the hospitalizations were moved to the group of the unvaccinated. And this created an artificial increase in the death rate and the infection rate, the hospitalization rate of the unvaccinated individuals.
So basically, because they weren't counted, if someone was vaccinated, they were counted as unvaccinated for at least 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks.
Yes.
That means if they died of the side effect of the vaccine, say 1 week after the vaccine, that would be counted as a death in the unvaccinated group.
Exactly, yes.
That makes the unvaccinated look at much higher risk. It makes the death rate in the unvaccinated look higher and the death rate in the vaccinated group look lower. So it's making the vaccines look effective and it's making the vaccines look safe.
Exactly.
When in actual fact, both of those are incorrect.
Exactly, yes.
I mean, this seems absurd. If I'm bitten by a snake and I die within a couple of days, it's obviously the effect of the snake bite that's killed me. I don't want to wait for 2 weeks to decide if I'm going to die of the snake bite. It just seems so obvious.
Exactly. This is a perfect metaphor.
I didn't think of that, by the way. That comes from one of your Substack viewers, but it is a very good metaphor. Now, in your paper, we have this this graphic here that we're actually looking at, that we can see here, Panagis. So the red line that we're looking at is the vaccinated group.
Yes.
And the green line is the unvaccinated group. And up and down the way, we have the death rate. So this appears to show that the death rate is going down in the vaccinated group and up in the unvaccinated group, but it's not taking account of this critical case counting window.
Yes. Basically, studies like this are only possible if you have access to the death rate per vaccination status. And a lawyer in Italy named Lorenzo Melacarne make a FOIA request to the region Emilia-Romagna, and he have been able to obtain the death rate per vaccination status of the people. So when you have this kind of data, and in England you had the Office of National Statistics that was publishing it until May 2023, if I'm correct, and then it stopped because they probably understood that scientists around the world could do this kind of analysis. If you have this kind of data sets, then you can calculate these trends. And in this case, we can see that when the red dotted line starts rising, so the vaccination starts rising, you have a very sharp decrease in the death rate of the vaccinated individuals, and you have at the same time, in parallel, a very sharp increase in the unvaccinated individuals, because basically they moved the effects of the vaccinated people in the group of the unvaccinated people in this time frame. And it is very indicative of the fact that this period of time, if you see, is the start of the spring, where in general the infection rate and the fatality rate of COVID in Italy, but even in most countries, were going down because of the good weather. We had an explosion in the death rates of the unvaccinated, and this is not normal, because even the unvaccinated individuals had to follow, let's say, the trend of the general population.
Yeah. So there is no plausible mechanism whereby unvaccinated people should start dying more in spring, unless those unvaccinated people were actually vaccinated people and were dying of adverse events of the vaccine itself.
Yes. And we to confirm that, we did the same analysis even without accounting the COVID-19 deaths. And we saw that there is the same trend even without considering the COVID deaths. Therefore, this is impossible because vaccination doesn't protect you for all cause mortality.
Yep. Yep. Having the COVID vaccine is not going to protect you against dying of something else. That would be
exactly, yes.
That would be too good to be true. So we see the red dotted line is the total increase in the number of people vaccinated. So you've taken your time frame from where that started going up to where that plateaued.
Yes.
It appears to show that the red line in the vaccinated, the deaths go down. It appears to show that the deaths in the unvaccinated go up. So looking at that superficially, you'd think, aren't these vaccines brilliant? But in actual fact, this is ridiculous. People that are vaccinated are being counted as unvaccinated, negating all of this data.
Yeah, exactly. And Professor Fenton had predicted that, and in one of your broadcasts, he showed that even using a placebo vaccine, a fake vaccine, but even a vaccine that has a negative effectiveness, gives the same beneficial effect in the first
apparent beneficial
yes.
effect. So if you're given some salty water, it would have had the same apparent beneficial effect as this
exactly
genuine vaccine.
Yes, because they just take the adverse reactions and they move them in the group of the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
So they eliminate these effects totally from the group of the vaccinated individuals.
So the question in my mind now, Panagis, is how many of these deaths in the green line, in the unvaccinated, how many of the deaths in the unvaccinated people who were actually vaccinated, how many of those deaths are potentially attributable to the vaccine? I think a colleague of yours has done some rough calculations on this.
One of the authors, Dr. Giovanni Trambusti, estimated this data, but this is not part of this paper, but it was done for an Italian newspaper. He calculated that, for example, for the age group of 70-79, from April to June 2021, about 37% of the recorded deaths were actually vaccinated people that were put in the unvaccinated group.
But this is a huge number because we're talking about a whole province in Italy.
Yes.
And 37% of those deaths would be a very large number of deaths.
Yes. She calculated the 37% in the group of 70-79, 23% in the group 60-69, and 42% in the group 50-59. So
even more potential deaths in the younger age group. That's terrifying.
And this gives an estimate, a rough estimate of how much this bias can distort the results.
Yes, yes. Now, this data wasn't available until there was a Freedom of Information request in Italy. And this data in the UK is not available at the moment. So if this data was made available in the UK, we don't know what that would show, but potentially it could show this same effect if that data was made available.
Exactly. And I mean, every scientist in this moment should request these kind of data sets from their administration. Each scientist in each country in the world that wants to make a truly unbiased study on the safety and the effectiveness of the vaccines should request this data set per vaccination status in order to make a reliable study.
Unfortunately, not many are. What does this tell us about the reliability of previous studies that have been published, and what should be done about those?
In my opinion, every study that did not take into account the case counting window bias, but even other biases like the immortal time bias on the healthy vaccinee effect that are it is very hard to calculate, should be totally reassessed, because when we see numbers like 37%, 23%, 42% in the different age groups, we can understand how much these biases are able to distort the results.
Yep, and as you say, it's what was the term you used? A dirty trick, a quick trick?
The cheap trick. The cheap trick.
cheap trick. That's it. Yeah, this is a cheap trick, and we don't.
We have to cite
in science.
Professor Martin Neal and Norman Fenton for that. For that name.
Yep.
Yes, they invented it.
But you and your group have taken this as a freedom of information request in Italy and used that. And as far as I know, this is the only data in the world that shows this on a real population, because we're not allowed the data.
Yes.
The British government, for example, refuses to release that data, which of course is quite strange, shall we say.
Exactly. This is this paper. It is extremely important exactly for this reason, because it is the first peer-reviewed study published in a journal indexed in the major database platforms that proves this effect on real-world data. This is the extremely important thing of this study, and I hope that other scientists around the world will have access to these kind of data sets of mortality rate per vaccination status in order to be able to detect and describe this effect in other studies in different places in the world.
Absolutely. And if we tie this together with your pioneering work on the systemic distribution of lipid nanoparticles and the systemic distribution of antigens on body surface cells, this has got really quite major implications for potential dangers of future mRNA technologies.
Yes. I am extremely concerned because now all the pharmaceutical industry plans to turn the vaccines in mRNA using the mRNA platform, basically because it is much faster and much cheaper. Because think about that, you don't have to isolate the virus, you don't have to multiply the virus, you don't have to inactivate the virus and make a billion doses. In this case, you just make an mRNA product that, with the help of bacteria, it is very, very fast and cheap. It is with respect of the traditional, let's say, way of making vaccines. So now, for these reasons, probably the pharmaceutical companies are going to use more and more the mRNA vaccines. But the problem with the mRNA vaccines is not just the product of the spike protein, for example, in case of COVID-19 vaccines, that the spike protein is toxic already by itself as a protein. But even using a totally harmless protein that does not belong to our organism, it can trigger this effect, because our immune system scans our cells, and it is designed to identify every antigen that is foreign, even if it is harmless. and attack the cell that it is producing it. So
the fact that the mRNA vaccines for COVID produce the spike protein is bad for two reasons. One is that the spike protein is itself toxic, and the other is that the spike protein was expressed by many cells around the body. But in potentially new vaccines, even if the code that the mRNA codes for, the protein that codes for, is completely harmless, it's not harmless because the body will still recognize that as foreign and will still destroy any cells that express that foreign protein, thereby destroying body cells potentially anywhere in the body.
Exactly. And if the damage is, let's say, at the level of the deltoid muscle, where the injection is done, then we can say that the problem is minor. But what happens if the genetic material enters the systemic circulation and reaches even tissues that are absolutely vital for our organism, like, for example, the heart or the brain? And don't forget that the lipid nanoparticles have been designed specifically to enter in the cells. So you have even a vehicle that helps this genetic material to enter the cell in different tissues of the body.
Yeah. And the drug manufacturers can do this. All they need is a genetic sequence.
Yes.
Interesting, isn't it? They could potentially take genetic sequences, any genetic sequence they like, and vaccinate people against it. The mind boggles with what they could potentially do with that.
Yes. And basically, the key thing is that they have not been done assessments and evaluations on the benefit-harm ratio. They vaccinated basically even age groups and pregnant women that had no risk, let's say, the younger age groups from COVID, and the pregnant women, we see that we know that we have to be very careful in giving every kind of pharmaceutical product to a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
Despite that,
Absolutely.
we gave these products to
plan to give many more.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Now, I know you've got some more interesting work coming up fairly soon. We're hoping to cover that in the next week or two. But for now, Dr. Polykretis, thank you so much for coming on and explaining that. And let's hope that scientists around the world are listening and are going to reevaluate their work more objectively. Get rid of this subjectivity. We want objective evaluation, please, from the world's scientists. And we also want data transparency from the world's government so that this work can be done all over the place. And let's hope that it doesn't show that there is 37% or 23% or 42% more deaths in the data from the United Kingdom. But of course, until that's released, we simply don't know.
Thank you very much,
thank you,
Dr. Campbell. Thank you. It has been an honor.
Not at all. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.